Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys a different type of video. I don't know if I've done one of these ever before, like a reaction video to another NBA content creator on YouTube, but this one was very interesting and I decided I wanted to do it. And this is my reaction to a video Rusty Buckets made. I'm sure if you follow NBA YouTube, you know who he is. But this is on his second channel, also Rusty Buckets, and he posted a video called The Most Overrated NBA Player on Every NBA Team. And as a heads up, I've already watched this once, and there was some guys in here that I agreed with, some guys I didn't agree with, and some takes I didn't agree with, and I kind of wanted to go over them, talk about it, and just give my perspective on this, because there's some that I do agree with. There's some I don't agree with, and, you know, I just thought it would be fun just to hear Jacob's take and then, you know, pause it, give my take, that type of thing. So, as always, the original video will be down below in the video description below. A link to Rusty Bucket's second channel and Rusty Bucket's primary channel will be in the video description as well. Go check him out. I think his content's pretty good. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Team. For the Atlanta Hawks, it is Clint Capella. Oh, shit. Wait, let me also say this. You can be overrated by the franchise, you can be overrated by the fan base, and you can be overrated by the media. There are different ways to be overrated. So for the Atlanta Hawks, Clint Capella, NBA fans ain't hyping up Clint Capella like that.
I will say this, I disagree with this. I don't think Clint Capella is the most overrated player on the Hawks. I will say that. I think one of the most overrated players on the Hawks is Bogdan Bogdanovic, if I said that correctly. I think he gets paid an ass ton of money to be a dude who's just like a three-point shooter, and I just don't think he brings much else to the table. And really, it's like he's, I don't know, I just feel like he's a guy that gets, you know, I've said this time and time again in past videos, you can find three-point shooting in the draft. You can find three-point shooting from guys who were undrafted free agents. You know, it's part of the reason Buddy Hield didn't get paid the money that Buddy Hield thought he was going to get paid. So I like, honestly, if DeJounte Murray was still on the Hawks, I would say that it's Trae Young. But being that Trae Young is literally the best player on the Atlanta Hawks now, well, I thought it was definitely DeJounte Murray before. They traded DeJounte Murray to the New Orleans Pelicans. So, I mean, by default, it's like, I don't know if the best player on a team can really be the most overrated player on a team, even though I think Trae Young is vastly overrated by the NBA community and by Hawks fans. But he's also the best thing they've had in fucking years. So, I don't know. Like, to me, Bogdan Bogdanovic is a guy that I feel like gets a lot of praise. Him and DeAndre Hunter, I think, is also another strong candidate for this, but I don't really think it's Clint Capella. I don't know. Like, even Rusty says in this video, you know, NBA fans ain't really talking about Clint Capella like that. You know what I'm saying? But there are some people who talk about DeAndre Hunter like that. And Trae Young gets a lot of that, but I do think Bogdanovic is a guy that, I don't know why Hawks fans act like he's not tradable, and he definitely fucking is. So, yeah, that's my first one for the Atlanta Hawks.
But Atlanta seems to think he's better than he is. I think Onyeka Okongwu is better than him at this point, and he should be starting, so that's why I think he's overrated.
I agree with
For the
that.
Boston Celtics, unfortunately, there is only one pick to make here, and that is not my fault. That is because only one player has really actually risen up the ranks for people because of the championship run that the Celtics went on. Like, it's interesting. No one really was like, okay, Jason Tatum is him now. But Jaylen Brown, he got lifted up a lot, getting...
I don't think Jaylen Brown's overrated. I would argue Jason Tatum is the one who's overrated and Jaylen Brown is underrated. I do understand where Rusty's coming from. I have heard this before. I have heard people start talking about Jaylen Brown in a different light since they won the NBA championship. However, okay, Jason Tatum, we have to have a discussion about Jason Tatum. I know I'm breaking my own rule here, and I just said, like, I don't think the best player on a team can be the most overrated player, but Jason Tatum, I think, fits that definition perfectly. He is almost never in the MVP conversation, it seems. Every year I feel like it's the same three guys. It's Nikola Jokic, it's Giannis, it's Luka Doncic, it's Joel Embiid, or somebody like that. Every year the Celtics, I feel like they constantly make it like the Eastern Conference Finals, and nobody has Jason Tatum in the MVP conversation. I can't be the only one who notices that. And the reason he's not there is because his teams are just so fucking good. And also, Jason Tatum historically has not played better than Jaylen Brown in the playoffs. Yes, there have been moments where Jason Tatum has had strong moments, even in the past couple years. I think there was one game, not this year, but the year prior, where Jason Tatum went the entire fucking game and scored like 2 points. And then in the fourth quarter, when they needed buckets, Jason Tatum came out and scored like 10 or 13 straight. So I'm not saying that Jason Tatum doesn't have like a clutch gene or anything. I'm simply saying historically Jaylen Brown has been a more consistent playoff performer than Jason Tatum, and I, in my own way, I think Jaylen Brown is better than Jason Tatum in some instances. While I understand Jason Tatum is the more all-around player, I do think Jaylen Brown maybe doesn't get the type of nod that he should from not necessarily Celtics fans, but from NBA fans as a whole.
In that conference finals MVP, you're seeing the argument that Jaylen is better than Jason way more now. I think Jaylen is a top 20 player, and I didn't think that before this final series, or before the playoff series rather. However, I've seen some people saying he's like top 15. I ain't with that. I'm just not.
I could see that. I mean, I understand there's people making arguments that Jaylen Brown is a top 15 player in the league. Top 20, I think he's definitely in. Top 15, if he's not, I would really have to think about it, but I'm just going to be honest. Top 15, I could see him knocking on the door of it. If Devin Booker's in your top 15, Jaylen Brown's got to be a close second. You know what I'm saying? Or even like Anthony Edwards to an extent. I don't know. I would really have to go back through, where I rank certain guys, because it's been a while since I've really even decided to, rank the top 10 players in the NBA or top 20. But I think Jaylen Brown is definitely knocking on the door of top 15. And in some instances, I feel like if Jaylen Brown had his own team, he'd be even better. So that's just my opinion on that, though.
I cannot get behind that. I do not think there are less than 15 players better than Jaylen Brown in the NBA. For the Miami Heat, I am going to go with Tyler Hero. He's kind of in the Hall of Fame of fake good players.
I agree with that. I hate to say this. Tyler Hero is one of my favorite players in the league. He was one of my favorite high school players to watch before he got to the league. But I will say this. Tyler Hero reminds me a lot of Zach LaVine, just without the fucking athletic ability. Tyler Hero, I will say this. Tyler Hero has made some really clutch shots and some really big moments for Miami in the time that he's been there. However, there's a reason Miami's trying to trade him and get something better for him. It's because he is like really the best shot creator on the Miami Heat, and I don't think that really says much for their team, considering like he's just, I don't know, like pretty much a shot creating 3-point shooter, if that makes any sense. And he's not really good at anything else. He's not a great passer, not a good defender. Yeah, he has his moments where he can clutch up and make some buckets, but there's not much to Tyler Hero's game that's super impressive. There's a reason why, like, he keeps, like, when Damian Lillard became up for trade, there's a reason, like, Miami offered Tyler Hero and a reason that Portland declined it, and it's because Tyler Hero's not even in the same fucking stratosphere as Damian Lillard. So I understand you had to give Portland something, but Tyler Hero's a guy who I think gets paid maybe a little bit more money than he's worth. I understand why Miami paid him, because they couldn't lose him for nothing, and it's a really weird situation for Miami. Tyler Hero needs to get better at basketball in general. He's a guy that I feel just is out there just to shoot threes and do a little bit of shot creation. He's not really great at anything else. So I kind of agree with Rusty on this take, just saying.
He's a good off-ball shooter, but pretty much everything else with him as a scorer feels pretty damn forced. I'd rather have a lot of other players in his position. Like, if Tyler is a fundamental, huge part of the shot creation on your team, well, you're probably not going to be a very good team, especially in the shot creation department. For the Chicago Bulls, of course, Josh Giddey.
Oh, God, Rusty. Oh, God. Jacob, what are we doing, dog? I hate takes like this. I despise these takes. And Jacob, if you see this video, dude, because I know it's going to show up in your fucking like partnered thing where it shows you like people have uploaded your content before and you have the ability to like strike it down or not, which please don't. But oh, bro, I need you. I'm asking you for a favor, okay? Please, for the love of God, stop giving your takes based on shit that happens off the court. Please, 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 please stop. Like, here's my problem with this take, and it's a problem I have with other takes in this video. Rusty doesn't like players that do shitty things off the court, which is understandable. From a morale standpoint, I completely understand that. However, we are talking basketball here, and while I understand Josh Giddey is not a amazing basketball player, I thought he was pretty good in OKC, like before the whole, 16-year-old girl thing. But here's the thing. The reason I have a problem with this take also, and this is from the basketball standpoint of it, is because he's joining a new team. And, I don't like to say players are overrated once they go to a new situation because you never know what could happen in that new situation. For example, Lauri Markkanen for a long time was a guy that people just wrote off. He was a guy that was like, okay, yeah, the Bulls drafted him and he just, he went to Cleveland. He had a couple, 1 or 2 stops in the NBA and just never became the guy that we thought he was. Right? Then he went to Utah and they were like, here, Lauri, take the keys to the car. And now he became an all-star that very year. So, I'm not saying Josh Giddey's going to become an all-star by any means. Please don't, mistake it for that. But, when these guys go to new teams, I think that they deserve a little bit of a pass because, while I understand Josh Giddey is not a great three-point shooter, he is more of a pass-first point guard type of guy, and I feel like the whole reason that Chicago traded for Josh Giddey is because they don't expect Lonzo Ball to be back, who, by the way, is a 6'8" three-point shooting, basically pass-first point guard, even though he became good at a lot of other things playing defense, and Josh Giddey is in that same boat. I feel like the whole reason they traded for Josh Giddey was to see, we broke Lonzo Ball's we fixed Lonzo Ball's broke-ass jump shot. Maybe we can fix Josh Giddey's broke-ass jump shot and maybe have the same thing because Josh Giddey is a decent defender. But I hate these takes from Jacob only because I know they're more so emotion-based than I feel like they are not more so than basketball based, even though this is basketball based. I just feel like anytime a player goes to a new situation, you never know how that new team is going to use them. So that's my problem with this. So anyway, let's just finish up his take.
He's going to put up decent box score stats, and then everyone's going to be slobbering all over it, but the reality will remain that his play style is not valuable in the modern NBA. The true point guard archetype is not valuable in the NBA, especially at the level of volume.
The true point guard play or type of player is not valuable in the NBA. Hold on.
Valuable in the NBA, in the modern NBA. The true point guard archetype is not valuable in the NBA.
The true point guard archetype is not valuable in the NBA. Jacob. Okay. I'm going to try to answer this without being an asshole because I actually like Rusty's videos and I tend to watch all of them. The Indiana Pacers were a team that was struggling to make the playoffs. I mean, really struggling, okay? They traded Domantas Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton, a pass-first point guard, okay? Who, by the way, before he got injured, was number 1 in All-Star voting for the East this past season, okay? He finished number 1 in All-Star voting, Tyrese Halliburton, okay? Who is a pass-first point guard. On that very same team, you have TJ McConnell, who is a traditional pass first point guard, who is arguably the best bench point guard in the NBA. You look at some other teams around the league who could really use pass first point guards, and I'm going to make an argument about one of these that a little bit later here that I think a lot of people might not agree with me with. But here's the thing. The pass first point guard is very valuable in a league when you have a team that has about 4 or 5 guys in the starting lineup that need the ball in their hands. Now, in Indiana's case, okay, they do have Pascal Siakam, they have Benedict Mathurin. I think Miles Turner kind of falls into that boat, so it makes sense, right? And to be honest, Obi Toppin probably wouldn't have gotten the contract he got this past offseason if TJ McConnell wasn't his point guard, right? There are guys in the NBA that need to be set up in order to score, specifically young guys, okay? Guys like Benedict Mathurin, guys like Jarris Walker, guys, even the San Antonio Spurs. Like, if the pass first point guard was not valuable in the league, they would not have signed Chris Paul. And look at all the mouths they have to feed on offense. Victor Wembanyama, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. Okay, when they got young guys, Malachi Branham, Jeremy Sohan, right? Like, any team that has a lot of mouths to feed or a team that needs to develop young players, having a pass first point guard is almost a necessity. You look at teams like Phoenix, right? Phoenix has Devin Booker, they have Bradley Beal, Jusuf Nurkic, right? I mean, they're the whole fucking team. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Jusuf Nurkic, okay? There's a reason they went after Tyus Jones. Like Tyus Jones, yeah, maybe not the epitome of a pass-first point guard, but his assist-to-turnover ratio is pretty fucking insane. You know what I'm saying? Then when you look at another team, right, the Pelicans, there's a reason they went after DeJounte Murray. Now, I understand DeJounte Murray might not fit the profile of a pass-first point guard, but he was able to do it. Okay, when he played for San Antonio, and he was like the only good fucking player on the team. He was capable of it, right? There are teams in the league that wish they had a pass-first point guard, Phoenix being one of them. Phoenix wanted TJ McConnell from the Indiana Pacers all season. So, this idea that pass-first point guards are not valuable in the NBA, I'm sorry, I'm just not buying that. I'm just not buying it. I bet you right now that the Portland Trailblazers wish they had a pass-first point guard. Okay, because of all the young talent that they have. Any team in the league with young talent wishes they had a pass first point guard. All right? That's the way it is. Pass first point guards help your young players develop by putting the ball in their hands and letting them go to work. There's right now, here's the thing as well. The New York Knicks, this is going to be a hot take as well, I think. I don't see Jalen Brunson averaging 26, 28 points per game again this upcoming season. I just don't. Because Jalen Brunson's going to have to become, you guessed it, a pass-first point guard. Okay? Yeah, Brunson's going to get the ball in his hands towards the end of games, but you have Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, you now have Julius Randle, right? You have Dante DiVincenzo, you have Josh Hart, you have Mitchell Robinson, who needs to be set up, by the way. Mitchell Robinson is a guy who absolutely needs to be set up to score the basketball. And I look at this team and I'm like, they've got 4 mouths to feed on offense. So someone's going to have to take a step back, and it's probably going to be Jalen Brunson, even though Knicks fans probably don't want to hear that. But it's going to have to be somebody. And I don't think it's going to be Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby, considering they're the 2 best 3-and-D players on that team and arguably 2 of the best 3-and-D players in the league. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but Julius Randle needs the ball in his hands to be successful. Brunson needs the ball in his hands to be successful. OG needs the ball in his hands to be successful. And so does Mikal Bridges, regardless of what you think of Bridges. Okay? So I don't know, man. I don't get this. To me, this was a bad take. Real quick, I think this was a bad take. And to be honest, you know how long Miami was looking for a pass first point guard? There was a reason that they wanted Kyle Lowry. And then when they got him, there was a reason that they were going after point guards. It's because you have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero in your starting lineup. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, pass first point guards are still very much valuable in the NBA. It just depends on what team you play on, So, all right, I'm done going on my tangent.
especially at the level of volume with his level.
Oh, by the way, I think the most overrated player on the Chicago Bulls right now is Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams has not become the player that the Chicago Bulls fans wanted him to be. Granted, that might change now that DeMar DeRozan is gone, and he's probably going to get a whole lot more minutes now that DeRozan is gone, so we'll have yet to see. But up until this point, I think Patrick Williams is easily the most overrated player on the Chicago Bulls.
Full of ball handling. You do not want a ball handler who is inept at scoring. You just don't. Maybe in a backup role at some times, and if you have an offensive option that needs to get set up. But if in total you have a guy dribbling the ball that the defense isn't scared of, bad thing to have. Bad way to do your offense. It's not.
Also, I actually, never mind. I just want to get over with this take.
Not the way we do things anymore, and I'm very sad that Chicago is doing this. For the Charlotte Hornets, Miles Bridges, no need to elaborate on that one.
You gotta be kidding me. Miles Bridges, Rusty. This is what I mean. This is what I'm talking about, dog. This is the Miles Bridges take is emotional. It's like there is a basketball argument to make that it's Miles Bridges. And I will say this, like, Miles Bridges plays on a team that's not very good. A lot of times he's asked to do a lot of the heavy lifting because LaMelo Ball is injured all the fucking time. But I'm going to give you the basketball take for this one because Rusty didn't, and I wish he did. But Miles Bridges, I think, is still developing. This is one I probably would have left out. Same with Detroit. I mean, Detroit's one of those teams that still has a lot of young guys on it and a lot of guys that just got traded there or signed there. But Miles Bridges is a guy that I feel like Charlotte would have really bit themselves in the ass for if they didn't re-sign him. This is a team in the Charlotte Hornets, I think in the next couple years down the road, they could be a really serious playoff threat, especially if LaMelo Ball figures out his ankle injuries issue that's going on. He's going to wear ankle braces this year. But I agree with the Miles Bridges take, but not for the same reason that Rusty's saying this. I agree with it from a basketball standpoint. Rusty agrees with it because of the domestic dispute that he had off the court. And I get it from a morale standpoint, but we're talking basketball, not shit somebody did at home one night. You know what I'm saying? So, while I understand that, at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it's a basketball video, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to hear a basketball take. So, that's just my opinion on it.
The Washington Wizards, I'm going with Jonas Valanciunas. Rudy once described Jonas as training wheels, and that's pretty much how I viewed him ever since.
I don't know about this one either. Jonas Valanciunas is a guy going to a new team. I will say this, he's not the most amazing center in the NBA. I have seen stints from Jonas Valanciunas when everybody on the Pelicans was injured and he was like the only player there. There was like a 12-game stretch where he looked like the best center in the NBA. I think Jonas Valanciunas, also playing for the Pelicans, was put in a weird situation where he was asked to share the paint with Zion Williamson, and that clearly wasn't working. He was also asked to share shots with like 3 or 4 other guys, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson. Then if you consider Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III, now they just picked up DeJounte Murray. It was very obvious that like Valanciunas was the odd man out, and I'd really be interested to see what Valanciunas could do on a team where he's like, I don't know, like the guy, like the Washington Wizards, and I feel like this is going to be an improvement for him. As far as the Washington Wizards go, I don't really know if there's anybody on their roster I consider super overrated. I do think Kyle Kuzma is overrated. I will say that. Like, Kyle Kuzma is very good, but not as good as I think fans make him out to be. Who else is on their roster? Marvin Bagley, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Sadiq Bey. Yeah, I think I gotta go with Kyle Kuzma. Mostly because Kyle Kuzma is a guy that Pacers fans seem to really want to trade for, and I really don't think he moves the needle. Like, Kyle Kuzma's really good on the Wizards because he puts up good stats on a bad team. Like, that's where I stand on Kyle Kuzma. I understand teams want him, but people need to understand Kyle Kuzma is the #1 player on a bad team. If he were to go to Dallas or if he were to go to like almost any other team in the NBA, he would not be a #1 option and would not put up the numbers that he does. I always thought Kyle Kuzma was super overrated. He's on a decent contract for where he's at. But I don't think Kyle Kuzma was the type of guy that could get added to another team, and I don't know how much he really moves the needle for them. That's all I'm saying. Like he's a good player, he's a good scorer, but is he a major difference maker? I don't know. Maybe as a sixth man to the right team he is, but as a starter, I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? He's just a guy that's like, I don't know, reminds me of like Michael Porter Jr. being on the Denver Nuggets. It's like, yeah, it's like his numbers are there, but do they really impact winning? You know, that's where I'm at on Kyle Kuzma. So I just think Kyle Kuzma is a good player on a bad team. I hate to say that, but that's kind of where I'm at on Kyle Kuzma.
Rebounds and finishes well enough for the center position that he is technically a solid starting center, but I think he's a massive ceiling capper. Like, he gets in the way of your team being as good as it truly could be because he's just not like that for real as a center. And
I think that's kind of wrong. Like I said, I've seen Jonas Valanciunas do some crazy things when everybody on the Pelicans was injured. So, he comes from a team where he's got to share shots with a bunch of other people. So, being that he's going to be in Washington, I mean, granted, yeah, he's got to share shots with Kuzma and Jordan Poole, but that's he's maybe got one or two less people ahead of him in the shot chart now. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's easily their third, maybe even their second option on scoring, depending on what happens with Jordan Poole. So, because Jordan Poole did really well off the bench last year when they brought him off the bench. So, I don't know if Jordan Poole is going to start this year. I would assume he's going to, but Jordan Poole historically has been better when he comes off the bench. So, for all I know, the starting lineup could be, Kuzma and Valanciunas and Malcolm Brogdon and whoever, and they just decide they're going to let Valanciunas and Kuzma eat. I think Malcolm Brogdon's kind of past the days of being, a bona fide, #1, #2 scoring option, but you never know.
He has a ton of limitations. He doesn't move his feet well. He can't space the floor, really. He technically shoots threes every once in a while and shoots a decent percentage with the...
I agree with that. I those are legitimate criticisms.
Volume is remarkably low. I just don't think he's very good. For the Detroit Pistons, Tim Hardaway Jr. Shooters with...
I will say this. I understand why Rusty's picking Tim Hardaway Jr., but also Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to a new team. I don't know how JB Bickerstaff is planning to use him, but I'm going to refrain from saying anybody on the Detroit Pistons because they're all really, really young. I mean, I guess if I had to pick anybody, it would be Isaiah Stewart, but it's just, even he's okay. So, I don't know, man. The Detroit Pistons, I think, are too young of a team to really pick anybody.
With a Tim Hardaway Jr. type of shot diet, which by that I mean off-screen threes, fading away, catch and shoot threes.
I will say this though, Tim Hardaway Jr. has been pretty dreadful as an NBA player. I mean, like, I can get on with this take. I understand why it's there, but he's playing on a new team, so I'm like, you never know. Change of scenery can do a lot for people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like any job that you work, you know what I'm saying? You could go to a job and, just suck because you hate the people there. And then you could go to another job and be fucking great because you love working there. So I don't know, like, that, to me, that's what it's like to move teams in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could play for an organization you really fucking hate and suck, and you could go to a team that you really fucking enjoy and be really good and maybe get into the gym a little bit more. Maybe you actually finally give a fuck about playing well. I don't know, but that's just my opinion on it.
Threes, contested catch and shoot threes, need to shoot better than 35% from three. Otherwise, you're not really justifying that shot diet, especially given that he's not bringing anything else to the table besides for his three-point shooting. For the Indiana Pacers, Benedict Mathurin.
My man said Benedict Mathurin. All right, let's get the ad over with. Hold on.
Bad playmaking and low volume three-point shooting scorers will forever be overrated. It's not a personal thing with Benedict or like Cam Thomas, who's on this list. This type of player, I think, is on its way out in the...
I don't agree with that either. I feel like there's a place in the NBA for every archetype of player, even the traditional center role, which people vastly disagree with. But the Lakers won a chip in 2020 with, everybody like JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, and Anthony Davis as their starting centers, or their centers on their roster. I understand AD played center for most of that series, but it's just the idea, man. Here's my problem with this take. Okay, I personally, as a Pacers fan, think the most overrated player on the team is Miles Turner. Okay, and it's because I feel like a lot of what Miles Turner doesn't impact winning a whole lot. I feel like if maybe Miles Turner rebounded the basketball more, and he did make some strides last year. As scoring inside the paint and all that. But for years, Miles Turner, by fans, specifically by fans, has been one of the most overhyped centers in the fucking league. Is he like top 10? Yeah, arguably. Is he in my top 10? I believe so, as like 9th or 10th. But just the idea, Benedict Mathurin, I think, is too young to even be in this conversation. He missed the entire second half of the last season, right? And when the Pacers got into the playoffs, man, Benedict Mathurin was the exact type of player that they were missing. Like, they were missing a guy that is not afraid of the limelight, a guy who draws fouls, a guy who gets to the basket, Yeah, the criticisms Rusty makes about Benedict Mathurin are legitimate criticisms. They're criticisms that even I've made. He's a poor defender, poor playmaker, doesn't like to pass the ball, he hijacks the fucking offense, okay? There's a lot of shit about Benedict Mathurin that you could argue about. But the thing is, I don't like to give up on rookie players so much, or young players until they've really reached their third year in the league. But it's just the idea, Benedict Mathurin is not even in his third year. He's entering his third year. And there's also been a lot of things this offseason where, Benedict Mathurin's been a better teammate. I think that's going to be a big deal coming up this year as well. Really, to understand this take, I think you would have to really know what's going on in, Pacers Nation, I guess you could say, to really understand this. But Benedict Mathurin has become a better teammate. It seems like he really cares finally. He even addressed it himself that he needs to get better on defense. He needs to pass the ball more and trust his teammates more. The shot selection needs to be a little bit better. He understands that. And I think so long as Benedict Mathurin understands that, he's going to be a very good NBA player. I don't agree with Rusty that this archetype of player of guys who just hijack the fucking, like Kobe Bryant style players who just hijack the fucking offense and don't pass the ball, don't play defense, don't play make, don't have any place in the league, because there are guys in the league who are pretty much just pure fucking scorers and are sought after by most teams in the NBA. Guys like Kevin Durant, right? Even Brandon Ingram, who I understand Brandon Ingram isn't exactly the ideal guy you want, but I guarantee there's going to be teams out there that want Brandon Ingram once he actually, I guess, once the Pelicans make a real concerted effort to get rid of him, As long as you are a 3-and-D guy, which I think that's what Benedict Mathurin is going to become to an extent, is a 3-and-D guy, there will always be a place in the NBA for 3-and-D guys at this point, going forward. I really, truly believe that Benedict Mathurin is going to be really, really good. Rusty may think he will always be overrated, and that's fine. He's entitled to his own opinion. But I think we're just scratching the surface of what Benedict Mathurin can actually become. I think this year is the year that Benedict Mathurin really takes a serious leap forward, especially with those pass first point guards we got, Rusty.
The NBA, I don't really think we will see Benedict Mathurin types for much longer. He finishes well. He's a decent one-on-one scorer, but he is a black hole on offense who just wants to shoot the ball every time he gets it. He's a terrible playmaker, and he's not really a good defender either.
Those are legitimate criticisms. I will say that.
Just scoring the ball in a way that interrupts the flow of your offense isn't good.
I don't agree with that. I think sometimes I understand what he's saying. Like, having a guy on your team that interrupts the flow of your offense is a bad thing, but you know what? Sometimes you need a guy. You need a guy who's willing to take the reins. I've said this already. You need a guy who's not afraid of the moment. And Benedict Mathurin is not afraid. Benedict Mathurin, longs for those moments. He's a guy who wants those moments. He wants the ball in his hands when the game is on the line. And I think in a league where a lot of guys defer, I think that's something you should definitely want. Regardless, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want guys with a killer fucking instinct on your team. Even if, Kobe Bryant was one of the greatest shooting guards of all time. Some people say he's like top 5 all time, depending on who you ask. But Kobe Bryant had that, and if you can find a player that has that, okay, which I think the Pacers did find in Benedict Mathurin, yeah, I think you have an all-time great on your hands at some point. Yeah, maybe it doesn't work out, it's for some guys, but Benedict Mathurin, to me, like the first time he ever played against LeBron James, he said, LeBron's going to have to show me that he's the greatest player of all time, and he went out there and held his fucking own against LeBron James. He put up 20. So, I don't know, man. I don't agree with this take, but I also think it's because maybe Rusty doesn't have the juice kind of on the Pacers community like the rest of us do, or like Pacers fans do, but I don't know. I don't agree with this take.
And I don't think Benedict Mathurin is actually a good player. He's just someone capable of putting up good numbers, and those are not always the same thing.
I understand where that take comes from, but like I said, I think we're too young. I think Benedict Mathurin is too young to be pulling the plug on him at this point. To say that you don't think Benedict Mathurin is a good player, I'm like, well, you haven't really seen enough of him to make that decision. That's just my opinion. I like, as a Pacers fan, I don't think I've seen enough of Benedict Mathurin to make that decision. So,
for the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm going to go with Bobby Portis.
Bobby Portis? Rusty. Bobby Portis is the most overrated player on the Bucks. If you ask me, at the current point in time, it's Damian Lillard. Like, Dame is this guy that everybody keeps saying, Dame time is coming in Milwaukee, right? Dame time is coming, and it hasn't fucking arrived yet. Now, I'm not saying that can't happen this season, but I'm just going to say this. The Damian Lillard trade hasn't worked out very well for the Bucks, and I'm predicting that that's going to change this upcoming year, but Bobby Portis is a fucking dog, man. Every team needs an enforcer, and that's what Bobby Portis is for the Milwaukee Bucks. I guarantee when Bobby Portis leaves the Milwaukee Bucks, if he ever does, there's going to be a lot of teams who want him. Like, there's a reason the Pacers signed James Johnson, okay? It's because you need somebody who's going to back up your star players, and Bobby Portis is that guy for the Bucks. Bobby Portis is with the shits, all right? He'll meet somebody at half court and fucking punch him in the face if they have to, if they want to fuck with Giannis or anybody else on that team, all right? Bobby Portis is, as we say in New York, with the shits, all right? And so is James Johnson, okay? James Johnson's a fucking black belt. That's why they have him on the Indiana Pacers, so nobody fucks with Tyrese Halliburton or Pascal Siakam or any of the young guys that the Pacers got. Every team needs a guy like that, and that, to me, like, there's certain things that certain players bring to the table that you really just can't put a price on, and guys like Bobby Portis, James Johnson, even TJ McConnell, like, yeah, they might not be the best players on your team, but when it comes to holding that fucking locker room together, when it comes to rallying the troops, when it comes to, I'm going to go to war for somebody, those guys bring that shit to the table that you can't trade for. So, there's certain guys out there that's just, when they bring that type of personality to the table, you can't trade for it. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion.
A solid role player, and the kind of role player that Milwaukee understandably likes, especially given Brook Lopez. He's got injury stuff, he's a little bit older, but I really don't think he's the type of role player that Milwaukee needs. And there's a lot of sentimentality around him because of how integral he was off of the bench for their 2021 championship run. But I think that his ability is overrated largely by Bucks fans because of that.
I can understand that, but Bobby Portis shoots threes too. Just saying, like, if you can get a guy like Bobby Portis, who's not only like a guy who can rally the locker room, who's gonna go out there and defend your best players if they get into a scuffle, but also shoots threes, rebounds, is tough in the paint, he's a good defender. Like, sorry, I just kind of don't know where this take is going. That's all. I understand why, because Bucks fans do absolutely love Bobby Portis. Kind of like the same way that Pacers fans love Benedict Mathurin. But it's just the idea, like, I just don't understand how you're going to discount what he brings to the team. I think the Damian Lillard thing, I think Damian Lillard's vastly more overrated for the Bucks than Bobby Portis is. Now, granted, it's only been a year, but also Damian Lillard's been playing for the Bucks for an entire year, and it seems like he still hasn't figured it out with Giannis. You know, I'm still waiting on Dame time, dog. We know what Bobby Buckets can do. It's just, I don't know, man.
And you could easily cash in a better role player that is more suited to the construction of your roster by trading him. But every time I bring that up, Bucks fans yell at me.
Well, yeah, they yell at you because what Bobby Portis brings to that team is something you really can't replace. So, yeah, that's... Sorry, Rusty. Hate to break it to you, but I think this is probably your worst take yet. I hate to say that, but yeah, this is probably your worst take yet.
And I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. For the Philadelphia 76ers, I'm going to go with Paul George. I'm honestly shocked that he made an all-star roster this year.
I can agree with this. Like I said, I don't like calling guys overrated who join new teams, but they also only had like 4 guys returning from last year, so I understand the Paul George argument, but you know, I honestly probably would have left Philly out of this, but
here because he was not even a top 15 player in his conference.
I do also think they overpaid like a motherfucker for Paul George. Like that's another reason I think he's overrated, is because he just makes an insane amount of money that he's simply not worth. So
he's now essentially just like a great 3-and-D player, but the D is not as good as it used to be, and his shot creating ability is not as good as it used to be. His athleticism is not as good as it used to be. I think he's a perfect fit in Philly. I think he is in a perfect spot because he is ideally a third option at this point. If it was Paul George...
I don't think he's a third option. I think he's going to be the second option in Philly. I think Embiid's going to continue to be number 1. I think... Because even when James Harden was there in Philly, Tyrese Maxey was the third option. Whether you want to agree with that or not. It was Embiid, it was Harden, it was Maxey. Okay? And that same principle, I think, is going to apply this time around. It's going to be Embiid, it's going to be Paul George, especially with the amount of money they paid Paul George, and then it will be Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey's still going to get his, just not to the level that he got it last year. Somebody's going to have to take a back seat, and it's going to be Tyrese Maxey. Okay, Tyrese Maxey is going to be relegated to more of a playmaking role, but Tyrese Maxey's still going to get his, just not, like I said, just not to the level it was last year, where it was just him and Embiid. Now you got a third mouth to feed. Someone's going to have to take the step back. 9 times out of 10, that step back is going to come from the point guard. You know, depending on who you are, how good you are, somebody's got to take a back seat. And I just, with the amount of money they paid Paul George, I can't imagine it is going to be Paul George. I just can't.
From 2 years ago, 3 years ago on this team, I would feel more passionately pro-Philadelphia. So, yeah, I think he's a little overrated for that reason. For the New York Knicks, Julius Randle, maybe not actually, just because maybe it's Mitchell Robinson instead. I don't think either of them are as good as a lot of people have an impression of. Julius feels like the odd man out on the Knicks, like the Knicks are...
For the Knicks, I'm going to say it's Josh Hart. And there's going to be Knicks fans who hate that. But here's the thing. Josh Hart, I just let me make sure my thoughts are in the correct realm here. Give me a second. I just want to look if I just... Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's Josh Hart. I just wanted to make sure I was accurate. Josh Hart, for whatever reason, I feel like got incredibly overrated when the playoffs happened. And the reason I say that is because, for whatever reason, the regular season, the guy just does not play well. Okay, like, yeah, he does a lot of the little things you want out of, a rebounding guard or a rebounding forward. He does a lot of the little things that really help a basketball team. I will say that. But Josh Hart, efficiency-wise, has been a fucking nightmare in the regular season. Yes, in the playoffs this past year, I think he played really well. I will say this, I don't think it's going to happen again, and that may be a hot take, and Knicks fans are probably going to hate me for that, but I think it's Josh Hart by a country mile for the New York Knicks. Yes, Josh Hart brings a lot of good things to the table. What he did in the playoffs was incredibly impressive, but I just don't know if he can replicate that again. Especially with them, trading for Mikal Bridges. They're assumably going to be
healthy this upcoming year during the playoffs, or presumably. Julius Randle is going to be back. Hopefully Julius Randle is healthy come playoff time. I just think what we saw out of Josh Hart in the playoffs this past season was something that just won't be replicated again by him. And I feel like now a lot of people are riding the Josh Hart train, and I feel like they're going to be perhaps a little underwhelmed with how he plays this upcoming year. That's just my opinion on it. I think for the New York Knicks, I think it's Josh Hart by a country mile. I think it's not even close. Yeah, you can make an argument for Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle in their own rights, but Josh Hart for me has continually been a guy in the league that teams trade for, and his impact isn't really felt in the regular season. There's even been times in the playoffs it hasn't been felt. This past year was like, it seemed like Josh Hart's turned over a new leaf a little bit in the playoffs with the Knicks, but I just can't help but feel like it's fool's gold. You know what I'm saying? That's just where I'm at. I can't help but feel that way. Like, if he does it again this season, okay. This will be a bad take. It'll be a historical one. But I have to see it out of Josh Hart, a second year in a row in the playoffs, or I have to see an improvement in the regular season. And I just don't know if I'm going to see either. So
zigging, and Julius is more of a zag kind of guy. They're just leaning on Brunson to do everything. And I get the offense is more dynamic with Julius in there, but I don't know if it's a type of dynamic they really want. I honestly felt like Brunson helio ball with space, and then guys who are really good defenders and can create off of the advantages that Brunson makes. I think that's a better play style than Randall's face-up mid-range shots. The Knicks would be wise to lean into that.
I will say this, Julius Randle's mid-range jumper does make me want to punch a baby. I just thought I'd throw that out there too.
Brooklyn Nets, I already said Cam Thomas. Scores in the ISO really well. His three-point volume this season was promising because it increased quite a bit, and that was an area of concern for him. But his playmaking and defense are still awful. Maybe improved, but still awful. He's not someone I would be thrilled to build around. He is an excellent tank commander, however, so you at least have...
I will say this. Cam Thomas, I agree with this take. I will say that. I think Cam Thomas is incredibly overrated. I don't think he's a good defender. I don't even think he's super efficient, if I remember correctly. I don't even think he's an efficient basketball player. I think he just takes a lot of fucking shots. I kind of want to look at his stats from last year. Yeah, he shoots 36% from 3 and 44% from the field. It's not anything to call home about. Even his win shares this past year, only 2.5 win shares. Yeah, I agree with this. I would not be thrilled to build around Cam Thomas either. To me, he's a good bench scoring option. I think it'd be a good sixth man, if he could just put up the numbers he puts up, consistently, like putting up 30 and 40 point games. We've seen stretches like that where he can do that, but I don't know. To me, Cam Thomas is just a guy who would be a good sixth man on another team in the NBA. He's not a guy that I think you would build a team around. For right now, unfortunately, that's pretty much all the Brooklyn Nets have to build around, but it's not a guy that I'd be thrilled to build around, you know what I'm saying?
Have that going for you. For the Toronto Raptors, I am going with Ochai Adebayo, which I'm sure a lot of you are going, who even is that? I was propagandized by one Alex Hoops who made a video about Ochai.
I'm trying to think if I agree with this or not. Ochai Adebayo. Ochai Adebayo is a guy that is 24. He's a little older. He hasn't really jumped onto the scene. I'm just looking at this roster, and I'm just like, do I find anybody that I really disagree with? Isn't Bruce Brown on this roster? Where's Bruce Brown? I'm pretty sure Bruce Brown is on the roster. Bruce Brown. Am I missing something? Is Bruce Brown not on the fucking... Oh yeah, he is. Okay. Yeah, I think it's Bruce Brown. I'm not ready to call a 24-year-old overrated, but I am ready to call a former NBA champion whose stats have statistically just fallen off a fucking cliff overrated. Bruce Brown is not the same player that he was in Denver. There's a reason that the Pacers traded him, and it's because that three-point shot fell off a fucking cliff. Even the, statistically across the board, he's pretty much kind of like, just been the same guy, just with a shittier 3-point shot. Even the defense is like not what not what it used to be. I understand he's only got 34 games played for the Toronto Raptors, but the steals even are not what they used to be. He was a guy who used to get in the passing lane, be a real fucking annoyance on defense, and he can still do that. But the steals are not what they used to be. The blocks are not what they used to be. The 3-point percentage is not what it used to be. To me, it's Bruce Brown. I think Bruce Brown is one of the most overrated players in the NBA at this point, and he just happens to play for the Toronto Raptors because the Pacers traded him for Pascal Siakam. I think that was great return. I will say that. Pacers fans were mad that we got rid of Bruce Brown. I was not. I thought Bruce Brown was incredibly overrated. I didn't even really like the signing a whole lot when we did it. I understood why the Pacers did it, because you needed somebody with championship pedigree, or somebody who's won a championship before to come in there. A guy who plays defense, guy who can shoot the three. Unfortunately, he couldn't shoot the three. He wasn't that great at getting steals, and he really wasn't even that great at blocking shots. He was an okay on-ball defender. I just feel like Pacers fans severely overrated what he did. Once he left Denver, it just seemed like he just wasn't the same player again. So for me, it's not Ochai Agbaji. To me, it is Bruce Brown. That's it. I think Ochai Agbaji still has room to grow. Bruce Brown, we know what he is at this point, and Bruce Brown is just not what he used to be. So
about why he was a sleeper as a rookie, could be a really good player. He stinks. He's really bad. He had a decent rookie year. Otherwise, he's been terrible. For the Orlando Magic, I'm going to go with Franz Wagner.
I agree with this. Just a heads up. I agree with this.
Simply because I don't know that his all-around game is great enough to justify how poor of a three-point shooter he is. I think he's still good, but you're not going to be as good as he could be if that three ball is actually bad. So if that's an issue, I don't really think you can play him next to Paolo, because I don't think Paolo's ever going to be a...
I disagree with this. I agree with Franz Wagner. I disagree with the take. I seldom, I kind of, I don't know, I 50-50 agree with this. I agree that it's Franz Wagner. I disagree that Paolo Banchero will never be a good three-point shooter, because he had a decent stretch this past year at the first half of the year where he was just killing it from three-point land. Franz Wagner is a guy that, while I don't think will ever be an amazing three-point shooter, I think he will get to a point where it's like in the 37% range, maybe 38% on, I don't know, medium, low volume. I don't think he's never going to be a guy that takes 8 3-pointers a game. He's just not. I do think with the new contract Franz Wagner got, he is going to have to get better at 3-point shooting. So I do think, because they put, when it comes to NBA contracts, teams put incentives in them. Like if you can be an all-star, you can win a league MVP, or you're all-NBA first team, or all-defensive first team, all-defensive second team. And I guarantee you that Orlando Magic contract has a 3-point incentive, 3-point percentage incentive in it, or a 3-point makes percentage, or, make X amount of threes this year. I guarantee you it is in Franz Wagner's $224 million contract, I think. So I find it hard to believe that Franz Wagner will not get better at shooting threes. I find that very hard to believe. Same thing with Paolo Banchero. I think Paolo Banchero is going to be a fucking monster in this league in the next couple of years. I agree with Franz Wagner right now, because I feel like fans, Orlando Magic fans and NBA fans as a whole, have made him out to be better than he is. I do agree with Rusty in the sense that I feel like his all-around game does not make up for how bad of a three-point shooter he is. But he's overrated right now. The future still has yet to be seen what he will become, but as of this very moment, I agree. I think Franz Wagner is the most overrated player on the Orlando Magic, because I don't know. I know, is he the best player on the Orlando Magic? That's debatable. I think it's Paolo Banchero right now, to be honest with you. But an argument can be made it's Franz Wagner.
A super strong three-point shooter. He could turn it to a point where it's not really a huge weakness for him. But if you have a guy out there who you feel okay as a three-point shooter, but that's it, especially as like a lead scoring option, you don't want another one of your lead scoring options to be yet another guy whose three ball is questionable. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm going to go with Max Strus. This is similar to my argument for
the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's Max Strus. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, they fall into the I bet they wish they had a pass first point guard category on their roster, because to me it's Darius Garland. I'm just going to say this. Darius Garland has not been impressive. If I'm correct, he had a pretty crappy year this past year. Let me take a look see, because I did want to. Yeah, Darius Garland did all right, but he only played 57 games. 44% from the field leaves a lot to be desired. 37% from three, it's good. It's not great. You know, it's just barely 37%. Darius Garland's one of those guys that his numbers are statistically just getting worse instead of better. He averaged 18 points a game this past year, 6.5 steals, which is down by 1-2 over the past couple of years. He's made an all-star team one time. Even the 3-point percentage is down. The free throw percentage is down. The 3-point percentage is down. Field goal percentage is down. Played 57 games. Maybe that has something to do with it. 18 points per game is down. Turnovers are up at a career high. So, yeah. I'm gonna have to say it. I think it's Darius Garland. Max Strus. I get why he's saying Max Strus, because most guys who just shoot threes are not super valuable to their team anyway. But for me, it's Darius Garland. The way people talk about Darius Garland sometimes, I would swear he's like fucking Allen Iverson. And I've heard people, oh, Darius Garland. Even my friends on 2K, they're like, oh, Darius Garland. I'm like, Darius Garland? I don't know.
Tim Hardaway Jr. Max has an insane three-point diet, and yet he shoots 35%, so that mark just does not justify the shot diet that he has.
I understand.
You got to shoot better than that.
I just want to say this. I understand why you picked Max Strus. I'm not saying Max Strus is a bad pick by any means, but I think Darius Garland has been incredibly underwhelming for the amount of hype that he gets.
If you're going to take like these J.J. Redick style falling away three-pointers. For the Dallas Mavericks, Daniel Gafford, it is
Daniel Gafford? I think it's Dante Exum. And I know it's going to come off crazy, but I've seen Dallas Mavericks fans who think Dante Exum is like the second coming of fucking, I don't know, Allen Iverson or fucking Steve Nash or some crazy shit. I don't know. I've seen people talk about Dante Exum like he's good, and I think Dante Exum is a guy who, efficiently this past year was fucking amazing, but let's take a look. Okay, I just want to say this, okay? Where's Dante Exum? I think Daniel Gafford, it just can't be the guy, because acquiring Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington changed that team around. Like, they had the best record in the second half of the year this past year. But I look at Dante Exum, bro. Dante Exum, okay, plays about, barely ever fucking plays. He's a fucking injury risk all the time. He played 55 games this past year, okay? He shot 53% from the field, which is good. He shot 49% from three on 2 attempts a game. He scored 7.8 points, 3 assists, 77% from the line, which is good. But really, I don't understand why people like him so much. I just don't. I think there's a reason the Mavericks went after Spencer Dinwiddie too. You know what I'm saying? Spencer Dinwiddie is I think a better player than Dante Exum. And I know there's going to be fans who disagree with that, but Spencer Dinwiddie was fucking amazing when he played for Dallas, and Dallas is like the only place he managed to make it work. So, I have to disagree with Daniel Gafford, because I think Daniel Gafford is arguably underrated, not overrated.
Insane to me that there was any level of debate between him and Lively as for who was better. Like, it was very obvious. I argue a lot that Daniel Gafford is a very loud player who makes very impressive highlight plays, but
these mushrooms make you feel better.
he doesn't do the little things all that well, especially not as well as Derek Lively. And
I agree with this, but I don't know. I think Daniel Gafford's pretty fucking good. Daniel Gafford's a guy I would want on the Pacers as a backup center. Just saying. Like, I don't think it's Daniel Gafford. I think it's Dante Exum. You could make an argument for like Maxi Kleber, I guess you could say, or even Dwight Powell. But to me, it would have never been Daniel Gafford. But
I think for what his trade value is, you would be better off using the roster spot on a wing rather than...
I don't believe so. I have to disagree with that. I don't think they would have done better with getting a wing. I just don't. For the longest time, Dallas's biggest problem has been the center position. So what did they do? They drafted Derek Lively, and then they traded for Daniel Gafford because, well, their backup center position was a fucking disaster as well. Once they traded for P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford, that team completely changed. It completely changed the direction of that franchise from just being like a middle-of-the-pack playoff team to a team that went to the fucking NBA Finals. So, I don't know, man. I gotta... Sorry. I think you're wrong on this one. This one I just can't agree with. I like Daniel Gafford, I think, a little bit too much to say he's overrated, because I feel like he's a guy that, when he was on the Wizards, was completely underrated and flew under the radar. Nobody wanted him. Then when he went to the Mavericks, he became really good, and suddenly he's overrated. You know, especially when he helped change the direction of that. I'm sorry, I can't follow this. Sorry, Jacob. Rusty, I can't follow you.
A backup center. Like, play Derek Lively 32 minutes a game, get a slightly worse backup center, but like a way better backup wing, for example, someone who you can...
The problem is also with just trading for a backup wing, most teams do not want to give away their wing players. Like, even Isaac Okoro just finally inked a contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers to go back, but like, most teams that have good backup wings don't want to give them up. Now, I will say this, the Houston Rockets should probably give up one of their wings to get a guy like Daniel Gafford, but they're not going to. But like a team that has an abundance of wings, the Houston Rockets fit that profile perfectly. But like I said, like a lot of teams that have good wing players, or good young wing players specifically, are probably not going to give them up.
Confidently say will shoot the ball well, someone who you can confidently say will play good defense. I just don't really think Daniel Gafford is as important to this team as a lot of people seem to think. For the OKC Thunder, I would say Lou Dort. I think that Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso, and Isaiah Joe...
Lou Dort? I gotta hear why.
All make for better options to start. However, Dort keeps getting that job. I don't know what's up with Mark Daigneault. I don't know if he's got like a tape that he's holding over his head or something. Like, Lou Dort isn't bad. He is capital F fine. He is a fine NBA player. Cool for him to be in your rotation. However, I don't think he should be the long-term starter as he has been the past couple of years. I would rather have Aaron Wiggins' versatility. I would rather have Alex Caruso's defense, playmaking, and if the three-point shooting continues, the three-point shooting he had last season. Or I'd rather have Isaiah Joe being one of the best three-point shooters in the entire NBA. To me, that is better than good defense and mediocre shooting.
Wait, whoa. Okay, Isaiah Joe over Lou Dort? So, Rusty, you're making it hard for me to get down with this, dog. You're making it hard for me to get down with this. You would rather have Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe over Lou Dort. I understand Alex Caruso. I do. But have you looked at Lou Dort's numbers? Do we gotta dive into Basketball Reference, my guy? I think we need to. Where's OKC? We need to dive into the numbers, because I feel like you looked at the percentages and didn't look at the volume or the situation. You feel me? Lou Dort is shooting 39% from 3. Okay, on 5 attempts per game. Okay, and is also averaging about 1 steal a game, about 1 block on almost 11 points per game while shooting 82% from the free throw line. Lou Dort also has played 70 plus games the past 2 years. The health is there. He's a young bull. Okay, he's only 24 years old. When we go and look at his teammates that you brought up, okay, where is Aaron Wiggins? Okay, Aaron Wiggins, percentages are great. But you're trying to tell me you would want a dude who shoots 49% from 3 on 1.5 attempts a game over Lou Dort, who takes 5 of them a game and shoots 39%? I mean, this is Dante Exum level. This is Dante Exum level praise here. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, don't get me wrong. Aaron Wiggins has played 78 games, started for 4 of them, but I'm not taking 49% from 3 on a guy who only shoots like 1.5 per game. I'm just not. Okay? Yeah, I mean, even defensively, he's not better than Dort. He's just not. I mean, yeah, Aaron Wiggins may be better around the basket than Dort is. I'll give you that. But the volume out of Aaron Wiggins, it's going to be a no for me, bro. I'm sorry. It's going to be a no for me. He doesn't average more steals. He doesn't average more blocks. He doesn't average more points. Free throw percentage is worse. I mean, I feel like Rusty looked at this really quick and went, Aaron Wiggins is shooting 49% from 3, and that's where this take comes from. That's kind of where I feel like this. I know it's Aaron Wiggins' versatility as a guy who can, maybe play a little defense, get to the basket, and shoot threes, as opposed to Lou Dort just being a 3-and-D guy. But Isaiah Joe as well, I mean, don't get me wrong, Isaiah Joe, great three-point shooter, but Isaiah Joe shoots 41%, almost 42% on 4.5 threes a game. The defense is not even in the same area code as Lou Dort. Yeah, the free throw shooting is better, but, I mean, what's the difference? Lou Dort is almost exactly the same three-point shooter as Isaiah Joe. If we want to argue about 1 or 2% on lower volume, I mean, there's an argument to be made that if Isaiah Joe took 5 3-pointers a game like Lou Dort does, another half 3 a game, that their percentages would be almost identical. So for me, it's going to be a no, because I think Dort is a way better defender than Isaiah Joe, and I also think that 3-point shooting wise, they're about the same. I know there's maybe gonna be people who bitch and complain about that, but that's fine. But Isaiah Joe is 6'4", Lou Dort is 6'3", so they're, if you want to argue an inch, fine. But yeah, I'm still taking Lou Dort. Sorry, there's a reason he starts, and I'm not gonna argue with the head coach or the GM over that. I think they're making the right decision by starting Lou Dort, because I'm telling you right now, if Oklahoma City wanted to get rid of Lou Dort, out of the 30 NBA teams that are in the NBA, and OKC being the 29th team getting rid of him, or the 30th team out of, I don't know, you get where I'm going, but if they were getting rid of him, all other 29 teams would fucking want Lou Dort. That's where I'm going at with this. But yeah, I don't know. This is a bad take. This is bad.
For the Denver Nuggets, I have to go with Jamal Murray, unfortunately. This is another one that I'm not thrilled about. I don't like having to knock these players, but it is a...
I feel this is a good one. This is a good one. I feel where Rusty's coming from. Okay, Jamal Murray, who has never made an all-star team, gets made out to be like, he's something super special. And he is special. I think he elevates the Nuggets to a certain level in the playoffs that they need. I know, and Rusty's gonna knock that in this video. Same thing with Jimmy Butler. But I think there's something to be said for guys who are playoff performers. And I think Jamal Murray is a playoff performer as well as Jimmy Butler. Okay, people wouldn't be saying it if it wasn't true. But Jamal Murray's regular season stats have been very underwhelming. I think he's also had a bunch of injury stuff. So I understand. I do think Jamal Murray is overrated in that sense. I think he gets paid a lot of money for a guy who only averages about, 20 points per game. Career-wise, only 17.5. So yeah, he's a guy that looks like he struggles to play 65 games since he was 21 years old. Not this past year, but the year before he played 65 games. But yeah, Jamal Murray's had a lot of injury shit in recent history, and he never made an all-star team. So, he was an NBA champion and an all-rookie team guy. So yeah, I understand where this take comes from, and I kind of agree with it.
It's part of how it goes. I'm kind of sick of the playoff riser shtick, especially because a lot of players are super inconsistent who have that label. Jamal, Jimmy Butler, for example. He was much worse in these playoffs than he was in last year's playoffs. So last year's playoffs, he was overrated as hell. Now I think he's still overrated a little bit because a lot of people would rather say he's that version than the other version. I think the truth is in between.
I'm just going to say this. The playoffs, regardless of what people think about them, I feel is a very low sample size. A series is only 7 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand why people... I think playoff stats are incredibly overrated. I'm just going to say that now. I think there are people who play well in the playoffs, but, people look at playoffs and say, like, oh, a guy shot like 44% from the field. That's not good. And I'm like, well, how many shots can you really take in 7 games? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like playoff stats, while they do matter, I feel like they hold too much weight sometimes in the arguments that people make, whether it's historically or with current players. I feel like you can determine whether or not a player is good based on the regular season stats. And, there is something to be said for if a player falls off during the playoffs, or if a player goes fucking bonkers in the playoffs like TJ Warren did. Bubble TJ Warren was a thing. But, I don't think it should really define who they are as a player. Because I feel like that moniker can go away very quickly. I feel like you praise guys for how good they are. Like, there are certain guys, it's like, yes, even if their statistics don't show it, there are guys that you can watch during the playoffs and say, yeah, like they're playing better. They're maybe playing more competent or more consistent or less consistent, or, they're just, they're taking their game to another level, even if the percentages don't show it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's, like, for example, you might watch a guy who takes over a game. Like, maybe the percentages aren't great, but, he scored 27 points. That's where I'm getting at with this. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel like percentages and stats as a whole, I feel like percentages specifically get really overrated in the playoffs. I think percentages are an overrated stat when it comes to playoffs. I look at their points per game and their rebound. Like, how did you play as a whole? Fuck the percentages, because I don't think the percentages are ever going to be great. That's kind of just where I am, and there's going to be people who disagree with that. But, if you put points on the board and you did your job. I think if you are a star player and you score 20 points in a playoff game, I think you did your job. So...
I think he's both players, and he's capable of being both players depending on the night. So Jamal, I think a lot of people got too high on him after that playoff run. Obviously, a lot of people have soured on him a little bit more, but I still think I routinely see people overrate Jamal and put him over guys who I think are just simply better. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm going with Karl Anthony Towns. His inconsistency drives me fucking insane.
The Maytag Pet Pro Washer has a built-in filter to remove 5...
Like, he has a lot of great moments.
I agree with this, by the way. I do think Karl Anthony Towns is the most overrated player on the Minnesota Timberwolves. As much as I did want him on the Pacers, Karl Anthony Towns is just inconsistent, and it's crazy because, like, now at this point, I feel like he has, like, kind of a value contract in the NBA based on what we've seen other guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown get paid. I still think Cat's a really good player, but there was a time where even NBA players, like his teammates, were talking about how good Karl Anthony Towns could be. And we've also heard the rumors of, like, Jimmy Butler and his disputes with Karl Anthony Towns about how he just simply doesn't put the work in to be as good as he could be. But I agree. I do think Karl Anthony Towns is a little bit overrated. But I feel like that's a moniker he only acquired this past year. Because For a very long time, people were saying that Karl Anthony Towns was underrated. And even his teammates were like, yo, he's a guy who should be in the MVP conversation. And he wasn't, because he was a good player on a bad team for a very long time. Now that he's I guess you could say a has-been all-star, unfortunately. Actually, I think he made the all-star team this past year. But you get what I mean. Like, back in the day, he was like a guy who was like, the fucking Wilt Chamberlain of the Minnesota Timberwolves, doing these, putting up these crazy numbers. And now that he's not doing that and doing it at the same level of consistency as he was in the past, now people think he's overrated, which I get it, times change, but I don't know. Like, I agree with this, but at the same time, I'm like, you got to understand, like, there's two other mouths to feed now on that team. And Anthony Edwards, who is now the number one guy, and also you have Rudy Gobert, who is going to get his, 15 and 15. So it's no longer just the Karl Anthony Towns show anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I do take that with a grain of salt, but all in all, I do still think it is Karl Anthony Towns.
Moments, but he has a lot of bad moments, and his bad moments make his great moments feel like they aren't fucking worth it. He is capable of doing great things. I shouldn't be wondering if Naz Reid is actually a better player than him.
I completely agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I've thought the same thing. I'm like, I watched the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoffs this year, and I was like, why do I feel like Naz Reid is a better player than Karl Anthony Towns? And I think it's because Naz Reid fits their rotation a lot better than Karl Anthony Towns does. Like, I know I've watched this video already, so I know Rusty's going to say I think the on-off numbers support it. And they should, because Naz Reid is a stretch big who pretty much shoots threes, plays defense, does threes. He's basically a stretch big. And while Karl Anthony Towns is a stretch big, Karl Anthony Towns also clogs the fucking lane and makes it harder for Rudy Gobert to do work down low. And even though Rudy Gobert is not really known as an offensive center, having Karl Anthony Towns down there right next to you can't be great for the flow of your offense, or even just like the whole pick and roll game and stuff like that. So, I kind of have to agree with this.
That shouldn't be a thought that has ever crossed my head, but in the playoffs last year, I was like, man, I think the Timberwolves would be better off with Naz and Gobert than with Cat and Gobert, and I believe the on-off numbers support that. Cat puts up decent stats, regularly gets referred to as an all-star caliber player, and I think he even made the all-star team this last year, but I just don't like his game. I was actually really high on Cat.
I will say this, I think Karl Anthony Towns would do great in another situation where he's not surrounded by, like if Karl Anthony Towns played with Trae Young, right, in Atlanta, I think Karl Anthony Towns is a bona fide fucking all-star. I'm just going to call it, like, if Karl Anthony Towns played with Trae Young, because they would kind of counter what each other is not good at. Karl Anthony Towns good around the basket. Even Karl Anthony Towns is stretch big, so he can shoot the three. But he would be able to make up for around the basket what Trae Young can't do. And I think that, I feel like, granted, there wouldn't be any defense being played. That's for damn sure. But offensively, I think it'd be attractive. I think Karl Anthony Towns would maybe take another step that he's not going to be able to take in Minnesota while he's still there. And I feel like the Naz Reid extension is something that they're maybe gearing up for to maybe, I don't know, they're not going to trade Karl Anthony Towns because of what he did this past year. But I can't help but feel like the Naz Reid extension is, the post Karl Anthony Towns era extension. Like, they're going to try to maybe unload Karl Anthony Towns at some point. So that's why I say that.
Had a couple of years ago, but I have soured on him since. For the Los Angeles Clippers, Kevin Porter Jr. and Josh Primo, it is insane to choose to employ these two creeps in the same offseason. It's very embarrassing. Luckily, that's the fucking legacy of the Clippers anyway, so it won't change much, but Jesus Christ, guys. Really, you had to just let me look at the newest Predator NBA player list. Let's see who we add to the roster. For the Phoenix Suns,
I hate this, man. This is not a real take. Rusty, this is not a real take. Every time you do this, I consider this not a real take. Okay? I know you're probably not going to watch a video to this far in, but I don't consider this a real take. And the reason I don't is because while I understand from a moral standpoint, and I feel like I've said this once already or twice already in this video, I understand why Rusty doesn't like these players. Okay. However, if you are the Los Angeles Clippers, you don't have a fucking draft pick until 2030. You have Kawhi Leonard, who is getting fucking ancient, who is injured all the time. Okay? And there aren't many young players on your roster. You have an owner who is opening a new building in Los Angeles and does not want to have the worst team in the league open his new building. Okay? He needs to make some of that money back, okay, that he just put into that building. So that's why he's choosing to employ Josh Primo and Kevin Porter Jr., who Kevin Porter Jr., by the way, is not a bad basketball player. I understand the shit he did off the court was unspeakable, and Joshua Primo, the same thing, okay? But if you are the Los Angeles Clippers, and if you're going from a basketball standpoint, at this point, if you're that front office, you just lost Paul George, and like I said, you don't have a fucking draft pick to your name until 2030. That's why they made this move. That's why they chose to employ these two players, is because they want to try to continue to be competitive while understanding they don't have a draft pick and while understanding that they also don't have Paul George anymore. And they also are doing this to hopefully try and keep Kawhi Leonard in town, because the thing is, even though Kawhi Leonard is, when he's healthy, one of the better players in the NBA, arguably one of the best small forwards in the NBA, he's still getting up there in age, and the injury concern means that you're probably not going to get the haul for Kawhi Leonard that you were expecting. You lost Paul George for fucking nothing in free agency, okay? So you need to try to make something work if Kawhi Leonard decides he wants out, because the return for Kawhi Leonard is really not going to be that great either. Yeah, maybe you can finesse somebody, but if you're the Los Angeles Clippers, you are officially in desperation mode. And if you're the Clippers, if it means hiring, I don't know, a dude who exposes himself to women and a dude who is got anger issues and does sporadic shit, it seems like that's a risk they're willing to take. And while I don't agree with that, I will agree with Rusty on this. I don't agree with employing these players, but I understand why they are employing these players. So there, that's my take on that.
I'm going to go with Kevin Durant.
It's not Kevin Durant, it's Bradley Beal.
Have to stay on brand. That is just the way that it is. But I actually think that modern Kevin Durant is way more overrated than his peak.
I think it's Bradley Beal. I think that what Phoenix gave up to get Bradley Beal, and for him to be injured all the fucking time and, you know, still get paid, what is it, like $40 million to be a dude who averages like, what, 18 points per game? I mean, I'm sorry, for me, it just can't be, it can't be KD. I'm sorry, I'm not with, excuse me. I am not with the Kevin Durant slander, okay? I'm just not. I do have a bit of a soft spot for Kevin Durant because I enjoyed watching him in my younger years. But you know, we're looking at a dude here in Bradley Beal who averaged 18.2 points per game. He only plays about 50 games a year. He hasn't played 65 games since 2018, 2019. He hasn't been an all-star since 2020, 2021, when he averaged 31 a game for the fucking Wizards. But I feel like he's overrated by the front office. And the reason I say, and that was one of the criteria for this video, I feel like Bradley Beal is overrated by the front office because of what they gave up to get him, and the idea that he only played 53 games this past year. You know, he shot 43% from three, which is good, 51% from the field, which is good, 81% from the line is at the very least respectable. But the amount of money that they are paying this man, and the idea that they traded for him, and all this other shit, okay? I feel like he was unnecessary. I feel like the front office added him because they wanted to try to create a big three that was going to put them in salary cap space hell for. I just don't know why they thought Bradley Beal was the third piece to this. I don't know why Matt Ishbia was like, get me Bradley Beal, when I'm like, yo, Bradley Beal is a good player on a bad team. And I don't know, the injury shit is just, I don't know. To me, it's Bradley Beal. I'm just going to say that. I don't think he's the worst player on the team, but he's definitely the worst star on that team.
Version. peak Kevin Durant, I completely understand why people said the shit that they do about him, but a lot of people talk about Kevin like he is still in his ball reference.
I'm skipping this because I don't agree with Rusty on this, and I don't feel like listening for 2 minutes to hear about like him comparing new Kevin Durant to old Kevin Durant. So
some steep decline, but peak Kevin Durant is so much better of a player than current Kevin Durant. For the New Orleans Pelicans, I couldn't really pick anybody. I would have said Brandon Ingram beforehand. However, that's kind of been like, there's been a lot of slander for Brandon Ingram. A lot of people getting low on him this offseason. I honestly don't know where it came.
All right, I'm going to break my own rule here. I think it's Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson's getting paid an ass ton of money just to stay there. I will say this. He lost a lot of weight. Looks like he's finally committing to the New Orleans Pelicans. But I don't know. To me, Zion Williamson has always been this guy. Like, he came in with generational talent around him. I understand he's the best player on the Pelicans. So, like I said, I'm breaking my own rule. But Zion Williamson, to me, just hasn't lived up to the hype. Everybody loves him, but I'm like, this is a dude who just hasn't taken care of himself. Only this offseason has he started to do that. He seems like he's not committed to the Pelicans at all. He's acted like an outcast. Like, even when CJ McCollum got traded there, he just didn't text him, welcome to the team or any of that shit. So a lot of his teammates say that he's not like a super outgoing guy. But I don't know. I have the vibe about Zion Williamson that he does not want to be in New Orleans. I feel like he does not care about basketball, which is bad. I feel like he's just good at it. If we look at, his health as well, Zion Williamson's a guy who has played only 184 NBA games in the past 5 seasons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's been in the NBA 5 years now. The 3-point shot is not that great. He averages 22.9 a game. People talk about him like he averages fucking 30. He did play 70 games this past year, so the health has gotten better. The free throw percentage is still not great. The 3-point percentage is not great. So I don't know. I just feel like people talk about Zion Williamson like he's a better basketball player than he is. Yes, he does have games where he really goes off. He has, his highlights are great to watch, but I don't know. I feel like he's a human highlight reel that is just, I don't know. Kind of like my argument to this would be: does anybody consider Pascal Siakam to be like one of the best players in the league? Not really. Maybe at his position. But Zion Williamson's a guy I feel like they talk about as like the next LeBron James or the next, generational talent. And I feel like that's not the case anymore. I don't think Zion Williamson is ever going to be on that level. I think he's going to be a solid player, but it just amazes me that people talk about him that way still. Like he's a generational talent. I don't think so. That's just my opinion. Maybe generational athleticism, but athleticism doesn't always mean you're going to be a good basketball player. I mean, not saying that he's not a good basketball player. I'm simply saying he is not living up to the hype. And that's why I think he's overrated. I think he's good, but I don't think he's, superstar level yet. And I've been waiting for it. And I don't know if he's ever going to get there. We'll see. We'll see what this year brings now that he's finally taken weight loss seriously. But the other thing is also, I will say this, the Pelicans did put a clause in there that they can void his contract, I think, based on health or how many games he's played. So yeah, that could be another reason that Zion is finally taking his weight seriously. I don't know. I don't get good vibes from Zion. That's all.
Came from on such short notice. I'm lower on him for the same reasons that I'm lower on DeRozan than a lot of people. Like, you are good at this play style. You are objectively very good at playing this play style. But how good is that play style? Is that the way you want your team to play? The answer is no. That's just not ideal. That's not the way you want to do things. He's not an ideal fit next to Zion. However, I also feel like I'd rather keep him than trade.
I feel like a team that's looking for some shot creation would like Brandon Ingram. That's just my opinion. I think Brandon Ingram gets a lot of hate for like no reason at all. I understand he doesn't shoot the three at the level that people would like him to. And maybe he's not even the defender people would like him to be.
But there are teams out there that need shot creation, and I feel like Brandon Ingram could fill that void. But the question is, like, I also don't think his trade value is super crazy. That's just my opinion on it. So he's good, but he's not great.
Trade him for much lower value. I don't really think he's that overrated anymore because a lot of people have soured on him in really short notice. For the Los Angeles Lakers, so I previously mentioned that Rudy described Jonas Valanciunas as training wheels for teams. To me, D'Angelo Russell is the point guard version of that. He is an 18.
I agree. D'Angelo Russell, I think, has never lived up to the hype. I think his best years, were maybe with the Golden State Warriors, when he played for them. D'Angelo Russell is just, I don't know, he's just not the guy I expected him to be when he came out of college. I mean, 18 points per game last season. When he played for Golden State, he averaged 23.6 points per game, and even that, he's got a lot of injury stuff. I mean, he's a solid 18 point per game scorer. I will give him that. He's a solid 6 assist guy. The free throw percentage is about in the 80s. So he gives you solid production. I mean, even the 3-point shot and the field goal percentage isn't absolutely great, but the problem with D'Angelo Russell is he is painfully average. And that's why I kind of agree with this. I feel like D'Angelo Russell is, I don't know, maybe right where he should be in some instances, but yeah, I can agree with this in some instances. There's not much I can challenge on this, so yeah, I kind of agree with this.
18 point per game score, 7 assists per game guy, decent efficiency, really good 3-point shooting. You really can't find Russell's production at any other player at his level of trade value. But to me, that's a massive red flag. Okay, this guy's an 18-7 on good efficiency guy, but everyone's valuing him way lower than those guys are otherwise valued. That's because he has been bad in the playoffs. He's had some good moments here or there. I think he had a really good game.
He's also very inconsistent. That's another thing. Rusty just, he's got good efficiency. Okay, well, if we look, this is what I don't understand. Okay, if we go to D'Angelo Russell, he'll say that D'Angelo Russell has good efficiency, right? But then say a guy like Lou Dort doesn't, when Lou Dort's efficiency numbers are almost the same or almost identical. So, I don't know. I'm not understanding that one, Rusty. Sorry.
Or 2 in the playoffs last year, and then some horrible ones after that. Terrible defensive player. So,
agree.
Yeah.
Russell is a terrible defensive player.
I think he is kind of a ceiling capper for the Lakers, and they don't want to move on from him.
I agree with that 100%. I think he is a ceiling capper for the fucking Lakers, and they just don't want to get rid of him because they can't find anything better, or are not able to trade for anything better.
Because they can't really get his production from someone else. Also, I feel like if you don't mix it up, you're just always going to have mediocrity at that position. For the Sacramento Kings, this one hurts because I really like this player, but I'm going to go with Keegan Murray. I like Keegan a lot, but
I have to listen to this first.
I saw a lot of Sacramento Kings fans acting like it was sacrilegious to consider trading him for Lauri Markkanen.
It is a little bit sacrilegious, and the reason I say that is because, especially now, Lauri Markkanen gets paid an ass ton of money, money that I don't necessarily think Lauri Markkanen is worth. But if you look at Sacramento, bro, Keegan Murray, how old is Keegan Murray? Keegan Murray has been very solid for them, and he's 24 years old. He shot 45% from the field, 35% from 3. This is a dude who just completed his second year in the NBA. And his stats, he scored a lot more. Yes, the 3-point percentage went down, but he also took double the attempts. So I don't know, man. Personal fouls went up by about 1. Free throw percentage got a lot better. I think Keegan Murray still has a lot of... I understand. I think it's too early. This is another player that I think Rusty's just going too early on. We haven't seen enough out of Keegan Murray to really
justify calling him overrated. If anybody on that team is overrated, it's Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter's fallen off a fucking cliff, and they still keep him around. Malik Monk is very good. Keegan Murray is very good. Keegan Murray, I think, could play anywhere from the 4, the 3, or the 2, and they keep Kevin Huerter around, and Kevin Huerter has done nothing but average 10 points per game, and I think his efficiency even took a fucking huge drop as well. Where's Kevin Huerter? Yeah, he shot 36% from 3 and 44% from the field, when in years prior he's always been pretty much a 38 to 40% guy. 36%, and he even got less attempts. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like, I think Kevin Huerter is a guy who's reliable, plays a lot of games, but I'm at a point now where I feel like Kevin Huerter is the overrated guy because they still talk about him like he's fucking amazing, when I feel like he's just painfully average.
Like a guy who's 3 years older and a proven all-star isn't worth trading for a guy who, one, regressed a lot as a three-point shooter in terms of his efficiency this previous season, and is 24 years old. Like, it's not like we're talking about some super young player.
No, he's 24 years old, but he's going into his 3rd year. So, I get it. People aren't that high on guys that are 24, but he entered the league at 22. And while I understand that's still old, Keegan Murray is... I think Keegan Murray is going to be good. I don't give a fuck about his age, to be honest with you. It's not like he's Chris Duarte and he's entering the NBA at 24. He entered at 22. He was 23 last year. He's going to be 24 this year. And his contract is a bargain for a team that just got DeMar DeRozan. So, yeah. I'm high on the Keegan Murray thing. Even I don't watch a lot of Sacramento Kings games, but I do understand that Keegan Murray is in fact a good player. And I honestly think trading for Lauri Markkanen might have been a mistake if they were to do it. So I kind of agree with Sacramento Kings fans here, where it's like Lauri Markkanen's production I don't think is significant enough to just my question here for Rusty with this particular take would be, why would you trade a guy on a rookie contract for a guy that you're going to have to resign, and when the production isn't that much different, or not even that much different, but is not a guy who does not move the needle for you to become a championship contender? I'm saying I would rather grow Keegan Murray at a younger age with a cheaper contract, with more room to grow and maybe be better and be a better defender than Lauri Markkanen. I just don't see... I don't know why you'd be making that argument, I guess.
I think Keegan Murray can be an all-star tier guy, but I view him as like a Rashard Lewis guy who could make 1 or 2 and be a super complimentary role player otherwise. And I don't really think he'll ever be as good as Lauri Markkanen is. So when I saw that, I was like, man, maybe people are overselling how good Keegan Murray can be. Because he will be a good player. He has been a good player already, as good as Lauri Markkanen, or no, this guy's untouchable. You can't trade him for a 25 point per...
To be fair, every fan base acts like that too as well. Like when it comes to rookie players, guys who are when it comes to rookies or young guys, most fan bases are like that. Most fan bases will if a guy shows promise in their first and second year, even if a guy is fucking terrible in their first year, like Scoot Henderson was, the fan base will not give up on that player until usually after their first contract extension, or unless they've just been completely fucking terrible for the entire duration of their rookie contract. But most fans of teams are like that. They will not give up on young players as quickly as just NBA fans will. Granted, us guys who do YouTube and stuff like that do tend to pay attention to other teams, and we have one team we pay attention to, but we pay attention to all the other teams, and we're maybe not as invested in that player as that fan base is. So
game scorer who's extremely efficient, that's just silly. It's extremely silly, and but
the thing is, unless it makes you a championship contender, I don't see the reason to do it.
I lost
Red lights in Qatar.
I was like, damn, people taking that shit a little too far once I saw that. For the Golden State Warriors, I'm going with Jonathan Kuminga.
Jonathan Kuminga? Okay, I gotta hear this.
I think the combination of perplexity we have felt for Kuminga in the past, as well as the desperation for any level of offensive creation for the Warriors as a whole, he gets overrated because of that. His shooting and shot creation really only get passing grades at best. He fits well in the flow of going.
The most overrated player on the Golden State Warriors is Andrew Wiggins, and you could argue Gary Payton II. They're both guys that are past their prime. Andrew Wiggins is a guy that I keep seeing people say, "Oh, he's gonna do better this year. He's gonna do better this year. He's gonna return to his old self this year. He's gonna return to NBA championship run." Andrew Wiggins this year. Something happened with this dude off the court that he simply just hasn't been the same player since. And like even Golden State has realized that they need to trade him. Gary Payton II has too much injury shit. Gary Payton II is not the same player he was pre-signing with the Portland Trailblazers. I don't think it's Jonathan Kuminga. Sorry. I just don't understand how a guy that's finally breaking out can be overrated. I get that like maybe people hype him up to be better than he is. But while it's funny because for the longest time I actually thought Jonathan Kuminga was super overrated, and then I saw how he played this past season, and I was like, maybe I was wrong. You know, I think I was wrong on Jonathan Kuminga. I thought he was overrated too for a long time. And I was like, yeah, at this point, though, on the Golden State Warriors, I think the most overrated player there is probably Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins or Gary Payton II.
Golden State's offense, which is good, but I've seen a lot of people act like he's going to be their savior, and I think he's very far from being their savior. The Warriors also seem to agree, claiming, I've seen a bunch of reports that they would rather lose Kuminga than Podziemski. Podziemski is an all-around guy. Kuminga is a rim runner.
The thing is, though, every trade that Kuminga has been rumored to be in this offseason, and Podziemski as well, the Warriors are not trading them. And the reason is because they understand. Like, I agree. I don't think Kuminga is the savior of the Warriors. I just don't. However, the Steph Curry era is going to come to an end at some point, and Draymond Green is probably not going to be on the team anymore once that happens. Because Draymond Green is very close to it. For all I know, Draymond Green could choose to retire at the same time that Steph Curry does. But when you're a team like the Warriors and, you know, you just lost Klay Thompson, you know, you're going to lose Steph Curry in, I think, a couple years here. Because Steph Curry's 36. I have a feeling by the time he's like 38, 39, he's going to be done, which is going to come a lot quicker than people think. When you have a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, when you have guys like Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody and, you know, Trace Jackson Davis, okay, you have to hold on to those guys and, like, try to see their development through, because you know that you might, like, granted, the Warriors are good at drafting players, but there is that chance that, you know, you won't, because there are teams who go years through the draft and never hit on a draft pick, right? And I think the idea that Jonathan Kuminga's even gotten as good as he is for a guy who came out of the fucking NBA Developmental League, the G League Ignite, I think, for him to be as good as he's become, I think if you're the Warriors, you have to hold on to that and see if you can expand the outside shooting of his game and the shot creation aspect of his game, right? Especially with, like I said, the Steph Curry era is going to come to an end at some point here in the next couple years, and you have to be able to replace that with something. So
I understand where they're coming from there, and Kuminga he's just so far from saving the Warriors. For the Houston Rockets, Dylan Brooks. So real quick.
I don't agree with that, but we'll listen.
Quick. For the last 28 games of the season, Dylan shot 29% from three. He started the year super hot and shot 41% for the first 44 games, but I think he fell back down to earth hard in the latter half of the season and not.
I think it's Jalen Green, and it's because Jalen Green has been the same fucking player for 3 years now, and everybody keeps acting like Jalen Green is some fucking, I don't know, world killer or world herder on the Houston Rockets. He has been legitimately the same exact fucking player for 3 years. This is a guy that we thought was going to come into the league, be this crazy good star player, and I'm sorry, but I'm over the Jalen Green hype. After their third year, I that's when I start deciding who a player is going to be. And if we look at Jalen Green's stats, bro, dude has been in the league 3 years now. He plays a lot of games, but the variation in his stats is not enough to justify the hype that he gets. The highest he's ever shot from 3 is 34%. The highest he's ever shot from the field is 42%. His statistics are literally fucking identical. This is a guy who is not getting better, but is also really not getting worse. And unfortunately, in situations like this, they're more likely to get worse before they get better. Another dude who came out of the G League Ignite, if I'm correct. A lot of people forget Jalen Green was a second overall pick. He's 6'4", 178 pounds. Not a good defender. He's really not a great defender. To me, it's Jalen Green. I've been hearing the Jalen Green hype for a while now, and I'm not buying what these motherfuckers are selling. Just saying.
Not a lot of people recognize that and acted like his changes to his game are just there, and he doesn't have his same bad tendencies. He doesn't have his same bad jump shot. His mid-range tendency went up more and more as the season went along. Like, he could control himself for a little bit, but only a little bit, before he fell right back into...
I will say this also. I think Dylan Brooks... I think Dylan Brooks improved a lot by going to the Houston Rockets. I don't know what it is, but I think there's something to be said for his first half of the NBA season. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm overvaluing it. I don't know, but to me, I don't see how you can even compare Dylan Brooks to Jalen Green when he was drafted at number 2 overall, was supposed to be the savior of the Houston Rockets, and unfortunately he's just been painfully average as just this fucking guy that's just there who averages. He's consistent. I'll give him that. Jalen Green's consistent, but he hasn't shown me anything that I look at and go, yeah, he's the future of the Houston Rockets. And that's what he was drafted to be. So I looked at Alperen Şengün as the future of the Houston Rockets way before I looked at Jalen Green as the future of the Houston Rockets.
Bad habits. For the Utah Jazz, I will go with Jordan Clarkson on the shoot-around.
Completely agree. Jordan Clarkson has been fucking terrible. And Jordan Clarkson is probably going to find his way out of the league soon.
We all realize collectively that Jordan Clarkson is a worse player than we thought. He had a 52% true shooting last season while taking 15 shots per game. Like, 17 points on 15 shots is bad.
17 points on 15 shots is not good at all.
6% below league average true shooting percentage is bad. Under 30% three-point shooting as a high-volume three-point shooter is just...
I think, I'm going to be honest, I feel like Jordan Clarkson's just in the league at this point to collect a check. I think he went back to the Utah Jazz because they offered him more money than anybody else would. I don't know. He's one of those guys that can maybe go to another team and revitalize his career a little bit, but I don't know why he chose to stay with the Utah Jazz. I'm assuming it's a money thing, but I would really like to see him on another team just to see what he could do. Just different, change of scenery maybe.
Awful. Jordan Clarkson, just bad. Just straight up bad. For the Memphis Grizzlies, this is one where I have to make a pick. I went with Santi Aldama just because I feel like Memphis was a little higher on him as a franchise.
I don't have a pick for Memphis. I think they're too young for me to make a pick. I mean, if I had to pick anybody, it would probably be Brandon Clark, but even he's not really a guy that you can hang your hat on as super overrated. But the Grizzlies I don't really have a take for.
Than they really should be, but that's all I really got. There's not really overrated players on the Grizzlies. I just have to pick somebody. San Antonio Spurs, Jeremy Sohan. I hate to keep...
I agree with this 100%. Jeremy Sohan is fucking terrible, and San Antonio Spurs fans seem to think he's the next Kawhi Leonard. I don't know why. They tried him at point guard. Like, the turnovers, the playmaking was all fucking bad. Yes, he got better at shooting free throws, and yes, Jeremy Sohan is still young enough where he could maybe develop some things, but he is one guy that I feel like the San Antonio Spurs are not going to renew his fucking rookie contract when it comes up, or pick up his team option. He's just got too much wrong with his game that I don't see the Spurs investing in that, especially when they have Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. They just drafted Stephon Castle. They have Victor Wembanyama. They have Chris Paul, right? Like, they're moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, that they say you got to shit or get off the pot, and Jeremy Sohan's sitting on the pot and still not shitting. You know what I'm saying? He's he has not become the player. Like, unless he shows me something absolutely crazy, ridiculous this upcoming year in the NBA, I have a feeling Jeremy Sohan's going to find his way out of the league a lot sooner than people think. The defense leaves a little something to be desired, but the shooting is awful. The playmaking is awful. Really all he offers is defense, rebounds, and free throw shooting. And unless he can get better at the offensive side of the ball, yeah, there is something to be said for a defensive player, but you do need, you can't be a pure defensive player in the NBA anymore. Like, you really can't go out there and just only be good at defense and only be good at shooting free throws and only be good at rebounding and have a long NBA career. You need to bring something to the table offensively to not completely ruin the fucking offense. And unfortunately, Jeremy Sohan is a guy that completely ruins the fucking offense. I don't know what else to say.
Ringing this bell, but I simply do not believe that a non-shooting threat wing, regardless of what else they may bring to the table, is a good idea. I don't think it really works. Sohan is a good defender and playmaker. There's no denying it. He's a pretty decent rebounder. He can't shoot from anywhere. 31% from three, 36% from floater range, 30% on mid-range jumpers. It is...
That's Markelle Fultz level bad, folks. Like, that's Markelle Fultz level bad.
A level of bad that I don't think it is fixable. People acting like he's a core part of that Spurs future, I don't understand it.
He's not. I'm gonna piss in some Spurs fans' Cheerios. Okay, Jeremy Sohan is not a part of your future. If he is, I'd be very shocked, like really shocked.
I think he will be a serviceable backup role player throughout his career, and he'll be in the NBA for a decent stretch of time because of his defense, because of his playmaking, but in no way is he like integral to their future. It's just not. I don't think that's the case at all. For the Portland Trail Blazers, I am going with Anthony Simons. I could not come up with one.
I'm going to break a rule. Portland Trail Blazers fans are going to hate me for this, but the most overrated player I think on the Portland Trail Blazers, and I hate to say it at the current point in time, is Scoot Henderson. And it's objectively that I think he is the most overrated player on the Portland Trail Blazers. I mean, dude's rookie year was not good. He was a top 3 pick in the NBA draft. 14 points a game, 38% from the field, 32% from 3 in 62 games. His win shares were actually fucking negative. This is a level of bad that I am really concerned with. Yeah, 81% from the free throw line shows that there's something there shooting-wise, but Scoot Henderson is so bad that it's I hate to give up on a player after their first year, and he's only 19 years old, but there is no, in no world should Scoot Henderson have been drafted in like the top 10. And I hate to say that about him because like I've been looking to try and find some silver lining with Scoot Henderson, but he commits 3 fouls a game, 3.5 turnovers a game, 32% from the 3-point line, 38% from the field, less than 40% from the field. This is a man who played 28 minutes per game, almost 30 minutes a game. He played 62 games, started 32 of them, and his stats are still this bad. I'm sorry, boys. I don't know. Like, we're going to have to see a miracle out of Scoot Henderson for me to not say that he's the most overrated player on the Portland Trail Blazers after his first year. And I'm not even saying that because I don't have hope for his future. I'm saying that because he was drafted 3rd overall, and there were people arguing he should have went 1st overall. I saw people saying that the Charlotte Hornets should have taken him over Brandon Miller. I saw people saying that like the Spurs should have taken him over Victor Wembanyama. There was people making legitimate arguments that this dude should have been taken number 1, and I just look at him and I'm like, I don't see, like, I look at Scoot Henderson and I feel like he has no feel for the NBA game, which is bad. I am really, really hoping I see a drastic increase in efficiency out of his play this year. Please, bro, you gotta at least shoot 42% from the field and like 34% from 3 for me to become a believer. And you gotta even the turnovers are fine, but you gotta cut down on those personal fouls too. 1 less personal foul, okay, 2% better from 3, and 4% better from the field, and we can talk about it. Then we can talk about Scoot Henderson maybe having a future in the NBA, but if he puts up another season like this, boys, it is going to be bleak. I'm just going to let you know, it's going to be bleak for Scoot Henderson. I hate to put a rookie as the most overrated player on any team, but for the Portland Trailblazers, it's fucking Scoot Henderson for me. It used to be like, I used to think Shaedon Sharpe, I had my opinions about Shaedon Sharpe, but even Shaedon Sharpe, I don't think was that bad in his rookie year. Like Shaedon Sharpe, at least, I had no faith in Shaedon Sharpe. And Shaedon Sharpe, where is he at? Shaedon Sharpe during his rookie year shot 36% from 3 and 47% from the field. Actually, his Shaedon Sharpe's second year was bad, but he also only played 32 games. But Shaedon Sharpe's second year, 40% from the field, 33% from 3 on 16 points per game. He was taking a lot more shots, but I'm sorry, for me at the current point in time, it's Scoot Henderson.
So I asked my single Blazers fan friend, and he said that the fan base overrates Simon's trade value sometimes.
I agree with that. Yeah, they do kind of overrate his trade value, but he's still a 23 point per game scorer. So
that's all I could really get. There wasn't really anybody else on the Blazers who you could categorize as overrated. So yeah, Anthony Simons, if I have to pick somebody. Sorry if I said your favorite player was overrated in this video, but there's a decent chance you're at fault. So, sounds like a you problem, TBH. But yeah, that is it. Shout out to Nick for editing this video, and goodbye.
Rusty, that's kind of ignorant to go out on, dog. Just gonna let you know, a little ignorant. But I will say this. I like the video. While I don't agree with all of his takes, I do agree with some of them. Good video. I thought it created a lot of conversations in the comments. I mean, if you look at the comments, the Suns' answer should be Beal. KD's like even this guy agrees with me that I didn't even read the comments, but yeah, like Bradley Beal, I think the KD thing is a little overblown as well. The D is not as good as it used to be is crazy. Sorry for your loss, brother. They make pills for that. That's a funny fucking comment. I love reading the comments on these videos, but yeah, most of the people saying that the KD hate is crazy. This isn't an overrated list, just a list of players you don't like. Your personal bias is bleeding through the screen. With certain players, it definitely is. I don't know. You know what? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I like it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.